There were a lot of links in the mail.
Where is it?
When I clicked on the links, I was able to watch several animated films.
I'm a poet.
Iran is the land of poets.
Who sent this? Bucheon? What's in Bucheon?
Since I'm curious, I'll go see for now. Bucheon is located in the central western part of Gyeonggi-do province. It is about an hour's drive from Seoul.
So today's destination is... Ta-da!
That's right. We are visiting the Bucheon International Animation Festival site. What kind of festival is it? Let us give you a brief introduction to the festival.
The Bucheon International Animation Festival, or BIAF, is the largest international animation film festival in Asia and has been held every October in Bucheon, Gyeonggi-do Province since 1999. In December 2017, it became Korea's first Oscar-qualifying international animation film festival, establishing itself as a world-class animation festival representing Asia. On top of the animation festival, BIAF hosts a variety of sideline events, including an animation content market, academic forums, exhibitions, experiential spaces, and more. The 2024 edition of BIAF took place from October 25th to the 29th. This year, the festival marked its 26th anniversary and screened 122 animations from 34 countries, selected from among 2,835 entries from 106 countries.
When we arrived, there were a lot of people gathered because the opening ceremony was about to start. Since we've come this far, we'd like to take a look at the ceremony as well.
아카데미 공식 인증 영화제인 제26회 부천 국제 애니메이션 페스티벌을 찾은 모든 분들 환영합니다.
제26회 부천 국제 애니메이션 페스티벌 개막을 선언합니다.
And I was able to see a very familiar face on the stage.
파바라 오위니 주한 캐나다 대사님을 모시겠습니다. 박수 부탁드립니다.
I think we will finally find out why we were invited to the Bucheon International Animation Festival.
안녕하세요. Bonsoir. Wonderful to be here this evening. This year holds special meaning as it marks the 2024-2025 year of cultural exchange between Canada and Korea.
That's right. As the Canadian ambassador just mentioned, Korea and Canada have designated 2024 and 2025 as the year of Korea-Canada cultural exchanges.
And as we gather here in Bucheon, we celebrate not just incredible talent within Korean animation, but also a meaningful partnership between our two countries.
To celebrate the 2024-2025 Korea-Canada Year of Cultural Exchanges, a special Canadian exhibition titled Sweet Canada was held at this year's Bucheon International Animation Festival. Through the Sweet Canada exhibition, many Korean audiences could have the opportunity to meet representative Canadian short and feature-length animations, as well as animation directors and program directors representing Canadian animation. Then, shall we meet the Canadian ambassador and hear about cooperation in the animation field between Korea and Canada?
So how did Korea and Canada come to cooperate for the Bucheon International Animation Festival?
Well, it's been part of the broader diversification in our relationship. As you've followed us so closely, you know we celebrated our 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations last year. And from that came the idea of the Year of Cultural Exchange, 2024-2025. And so that gave us sort of an umbrella to start all kinds of different projects. And this animation film festival was one of them. And it's really quite neat because we see the Ottawa Animation Film Festival has come together with the Bucheon Animation Film Festival. And so it's a kind of co-creation.
That's right. As the ambassador just mentioned, this year there was a special collaboration between the Bucheon International Animation Festival and the Ottawa International Animation Festival in Canada.
The Ottawa International Animation Festival, or OIAF, is one of the world's top animation events, held every September. It's considered one of the world's top 4 animation festivals, along with the Annecy International Animated Film Festival in France, the AnimaFest Zagreb in Croatia, and the Hiroshima International Animation Festival in Japan. And this year, the Ottawa International Animation Festival held a special exhibition titled Spotlight on Korean Animation, screening Korean feature-length and short animations, including Your Letter, Circle, and Dear Flower. The audience response was very enthusiastic.
Among the Korean animation screened in Ottawa, Your Letter was also the opener for this year's Bucheon International Animation Festival. It also won 3 prizes at the festival, including the Jury Prize, Music Prize, and Technical Prize.
So I heard that 15 Canadian films will be screened on this festival. So
Yes.
is there one film that you'd like to recommend to Korean audience?
Well, I recommend them all. I'm a fair Canadian, but I'm always very attracted to short films. There's something quite intense and often quite poignant about short films. And there's one in particular being shown in this festival called Blind Vaisha, about a girl born with one eye that can see the future and the other eye that can see the past.
Little Vaisha had been born with a left eye that only saw the past and a right eye that only saw the future. Vaisha the blind girl, this was how everyone came to call her.
And it's all about living in the present, and in the world in which we live. It's a very beautiful film, beautiful animation. It's by one of our foremost animators, Mr. Ushev. It's very, I recommend starting there as an introduction.
Okay. But all 15 films as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This year's Bucheon International Animation Festival screened a total of 15 Canadian animations, including 2 feature-length films and 13 shorts.
캐나다라는 국가는 애니메이션과 영화에 있어서 상당히 전 세계의 트렌드를 주도하는 국가임에도 불구하고 우리나라에 소개되는 캐나다 애니메이션이 그다지 많지는 않았었거든요. 그리고 국립영상위원회 NF이라는 곳이 있어서 꾸준하게 좋은 작품들을 많이 만들었고 아카데미 수상했던 감독들이 연이어 나왔는데요. 올해 상영하는 캐나다 특별전 다정한 캐나다에서 또 오타와 애니메이션 영화제에서 뽑은 작품들이 지금 13편이 지금 선정이 돼 있기 때문에요. 좀 상호 간에 그런 그동안 잘 노출이 안 됐던 작품들이 이렇게 프리미어로 상영되는 부분들은 굉장히 큰 의미를 가지고 있는 것 같고요.
그런 국가 특별전을 열었을 때 이제 사람들의 반응은 어땠나요?
일단 굉장히 신선하다. 네, 캐나다 애니메이션? 캐나다 하게 되면 정말 가고 싶은 나라긴 한데 문화를 접촉할 기회가 많지가 않아요. 특히 불어권에 있는 작품들하고 영어권에 있는 작품들을 잘 저희 쪽에서 조합을 해가지고 어디 치우치지 않게 소개를 하려고 그랬고요. 그리고 또 이민 정책이 굉장히 좀 유연하기 때문에 그런 정책들이라든가 아니면 나오는 작품들이 그런 다양성을 충분히 다 내포하고 있거든요. 그런 작품들을 통해 가지고 올해 캐나다 다정한 캐나다로 구성이 됐던 부분들이 저한테는 굉장히 큰 즐거움이었던 것 같습니다.
Let's go watch the Canadian animations now. You can watch 13 Canadian animated shorts here all at once. And many people came here to see Canadian animations. What kind of animations will we see? I was really looking forward to it.
One day, a little girl was born. She was called Vaisha.
I was able to watch animations on various topics. The images, colors, and textures of the animations were all different, so it was very interesting. After the screening, a special talk was held with those who came all the way from Canada to visit Korea.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's been quite an honor to be here. And I'm so glad to see so many faces here to watch Canadian animation.
So how were the films screened in Korea selected? Let's hear her answer.
They were basically selected to be a showcase of kind of a wide array of recent Canadian animation specifically, meant to demonstrate not only what Canada has to offer to animation, but also the diversity of techniques, of stories, and of talents that are coming out of the Canadian animation scene.
Not only that, I was also able to hear detailed explanations about the individual films. One of the works that I personally found interesting was The Flying Sailor. Do you want to hear about the background story to that work?
And then we have Flying Sailor by Amanda Forbes and Wendy Tilby, which explores the real-life story of the flying sailor, Charles Mayers. So, I guess for some historical context, in 1917, there was two ships, as you saw in the film, one of which was full of explosives and ammunition. They collided in Halifax's harbor. Caught up in said explosion was Charles Mayer, who was launched into the air by the force of the blast and landed kilometers away, soaking wet, wearing nothing but his boots. The filmmakers actually drew on accounts of traumatic and near-death experiences and kind of the stories people have told about their own experiences with that in such a profound moment where you're kind of forced to confront the fleeting nature of life and how everything can change in a split second.
Watching this animation, I was able to see how a person's life can completely change even from life to death in an instant through a huge historical event as well as the thoughts that come to mind during those moments. After the talk session, I was able to talk to her. I was curious about the viewers' response to the Korean animation that was shown at the Ottawa International Animation Festival last September. So, I decided to ask her.
So in September, I heard the Spotlight on Korean Animation exhibition was held at the Ottawa International Animation Festival. So what was the response like?
It was really good. There was a really strong turnout for both. There was a shorts program as well as the feature Your Letter, which is also playing here at BIAF. But yeah, the turnout was really, really good. People seemed really excited by it and really into it. And yeah, it was fun to see.
So are there any Korean animation that you've interested in?
Yeah, there's a bunch, honestly. Just off the top of my head, Chaerin Im is one that I really quite enjoy. Kangmin Kim, who won our grand prize for short back in, I think, 2020 with Cocoon. And Da Hee-jung is another one. We actually screened her most recent film, Society of Clothes, which is a Korean, French, and Canadian co-production at this year's festival. And it's a beautiful film, and I always love her work.
So what do you think are the charms of animation?
Oh, there's so many. Where to start? I think it can communicate in a way that even just like live action can't. There's a lot of things that it can communicate without language because it's just kind of a purely visual medium often. I could almost argue it's more universal. Like even the cultures that don't have as big of an animation program are still like doing really interesting things with animation as a medium. It's so diverse, it's so varied. You can tell so many different stories with it that you can't even tell in live action or in other kind of visual mediums. Yeah, I think it's one of the best mediums out there personally.
Talking to her made me think again about the appeal of animation. Today, I had the opportunity to meet another special person during the special talk session.
Hello, thanks for inviting me. Thanks for coming. It will be fun, I believe.
Blind Vaisha was a very interesting work to me. I thought that the character of Vaisha, who can only see the past with her left eye and the future with her right eye, and thus cannot live in the present, was really special. I wondered how the director came up with the idea for Blind Vaisha.
But it was mostly as a metaphorical fable about our inability of living in the present. We are very afraid of the future, and we are very connected to our past. Our past always looks fantastic. It's stopping us being 100% happy now.
Now, I will talk to the director Yushef.
So as a director, what kind of inspiration do you receive from attending these kind of festivals?
The animators and the directors, we work in solitude. We don't work with people. We create a new world every time. So for us, it's very important to have the feedback and to get with people and talk and communicate with them, because this is what we do. We do films for the audience at the end of the day.
So there are many other mediums, but why did you choose animation as a medium to show your message to the world?
For me, it's the perfect medium because you create the world from scratch. You create, you feel like a god. It doesn't exist anything, and you create it with your brain and your hands. That's why I love the animation. The animation is like the gathering and unifying all the existing arts in one medium, in one art. That's why I love it.
So are there any Korean animations that you're interested in?
Korean? Yes. I've been following the Korean film since 20 years, and I love it. And Korean animation has this also feeling of strange absurdity of representing the world that we live in. That's what I love in it. And the design is awesome, always, all the time.
Let's talk a little bit about Blind Vaisha. So I heard that the idea of a girl whose left eye only sees the past and the right eye only sees the future is based on a story of a Bulgarian poet, is it?
Yeah, it's a short story, but one of my friends, Georgi Gospodinov, probably the most famous Bulgarian writer right now. And when I read this story, I said, okay, I have to do this one.
But what specific aspects of the original story made you decide to create an animation?
This is because Blind Vaisha, she's afraid from the future. And I think that the fear is the worst advisor that we have. It's very important that we make our decision now, in the present, and be brave and live in full what we have in front of us, and not only turning all the time from the past. So this is the moral. It's a metaphorical fable.
I thought it was an animation that would give food for thought to modern people who are too busy to truly focus on the present. At this year's Bucheon International Animation Festival, we were able to see not only Canadian animation shorts, but also 2 feature-length films. I'm planning to go see one of them right now. The Canadian animation which will be screened here today is Wind the Horses.
Wow, Rosie, a book! Rosie is the poet.
There's one more thing. I've been invited to poetry festival in Arirang.
Reason for visit.
I'm a poet.
Iran is the land of poets.
After the screening, there was also a Q&A session between the director and the audience.
Hello, yes, I'm Anne-Marie Fleming, and it's really a great pleasure to be here at BIAF 2024 with Wind the Horses, and thank you so much for coming to see it.
이 영화의 주인공은 다문화 가정에서 자란 그 소녀입니다. 그 소녀 로지링의 성장기라고 할 수 있는데 어떻게 보면 뿌리 찾기, 나의 뿌리는 어디서 왔는가라는 뿌리 찾기 서사라고 할 수 있는데
By having the opportunity to talk with the director, I was able to hear more in-depth stories about the film, such as the background of its production and the reason for making it, which made me feel like my experience was greatly broadened.
As she learns. 이 시 말고도 그림이라든지 조각이라든지 다양한 형태가 있을 수 있잖아요. 그런 소통의 형태로. 그런데 왜 시를 소재로 하셨는지 그것도 궁금하고. I also, while I was in Germany, strangely, I was introduced to the poetry of Iran, to the music of Iran, to films from Iran. You have these 1,000-year-old words that are still spoken, and so it's like I was trying to explain. It's like these words are a code that connects us from now to the past to show that we are the same people over this time, differently.
What kind of time was it for the audience today?
More about.
일단 뭔가 시라는 그걸 되게 시각적으로 잘 보여준 것 같아서 좋았고 평소에는 별로 볼 수 없는 그런 그림들을 써가지고 만든 영화여서 좋았어요.
영화의 주인공이 스틱걸로 나왔잖아요. 그걸 보고 굉장히 좋다고 생각을 했던 게 이제 주인공이 만약에 좀 실제 어떤 사람을 특정할 수 있을 만큼 디테일했다면 되려 그 사람의 이야기다라고 취급되고 끝났을 텐데 이제 형태가 특정되지 않은 스티커 형태로 나오니까 저 주인공이 내가 될 수도 있고 또 다른 사람이 될 수도 있겠구나라는 어떤 좀 공감하기 쉬운 그런 모습이 돼서
직접 사람이 연기하거나 이렇게 세트장이 있는 경우에는 아무래도 장소의 제약이라던가 시간의 제약들이 어쩔 수 없이 존재할 수밖에 없는데 애니메이션 같은 경우에는 좀 더 다채롭게 보여줄 수도 있고 시공간의 제약 없이 좀 더 상상력을 좀 덧붙여가지고 좀 더 크게 보여줄 수 있다? 이런 부분이 좀 더 재밌지 않나, 인상적이지 않나 싶네요. 네.
캐나다라는 국가 특성상 되게 다양한 국가에서 온 사람들이 모이고 그러다 보니까 애니메이션 스타일도 다 다르고 이런 점이 되게 신기하더라고요.
Luckily, I had the opportunity to interview director Fleming. She is also the jury president for this year's Bucheon International Animation Festival.
So you won the jury award at BIAF in 2016,
Yes.
and you came back as a jury president this time. So as an animation director, what kind of inspiration do you receive from attending these kind of events?
Well, of course, being able to see the films themselves and all of these different expressions from all over the world, but also to be able to travel to Korea and to be able to meet other artists and you know, being on a jury is such an amazing experience because we talk in depth with people, you know, from different cultures, different languages, trying to understand what an artist is trying to tell us in films. And so I think with animation especially, it just completely breaks down all of these cages that we put ourselves in terms of how to tell a story. It's so exciting to see new animated work.
After watching the movie, there was one thing I really wanted to ask her. Why did she choose Iran as the main setting for the story?
The more you learn about others,
the more you deepen your understanding of
I came up with this story first when I was living in Germany. And so I'm an immigrant to Canada, but this was the first time I had lived somewhere else as an adult in another culture, in someone else's language. It was when I was introduced to the poetry of Rumi and Iranian cinema and music. And the German story I was going to tell was from what happened after the Second World War, when the German diaspora went to other places, but it was very, very hard. Nobody wanted to talk about their past. It was very difficult because of that particular history. Many years later, when I was hearing stories from the Iranian diaspora in Canada, they sounded so similar, but not from the Second World War, from after the revolution. You know, that split families apart, people went all over the world. There was a lot of anti-Iranian sentiment, I mean there still is, and also, so I wanted to deal with that. I wanted to deal with these biases that we have. And so I had a lot of people come on and help me make the film, animators, composers, poets, historians, you know, consultants. It was like a lot of different people, especially from the Iranian diaspora, helped me and wanted to support me making this film that seemed kind of crazy, but really celebrated their culture as, and was like sort of to have an outsider be interested in that and not in the politics, but in just how people, you know, were living.
Her story about how window horses got started with their first experience living in a different country was impressive.
My father was Persian.
I also remember her story about wanting to confront our prejudices about other people, other cultures, and other environments. Different cultures meet to create new stories like this.
Open the book, choose a poet.
Today, we met many diplomats who connected Korea and Canada through animations. What did you think of today's episode? I think the animations that I watched today broadened my horizons. And I think Korea and Canada will continue to provide these opportunities for many people until next year.
There's many areas of cultural exchange which are very vibrant and have been progressing already for many years, but I think there's a few elements that we can really highlight in our program this year. Indigenous art, literature has been an incredible exchange. We've had a book festival with authors working, Canadian authors working with Korean authors. And in the year in which Han Kang wins the Nobel Prize for Literature, I think there's a lot that Canadian literature can offer that can interest Korean audiences.
Bringing people closer together through culture. I think that is probably something that is really needed these days.
I think it's very important in the crazy world that we live now, when almost everywhere there is war going on, that we still sit here and talk about films. Animation is peace.
Then the culture helps really bring it down to the individual level and allow individuals to show what they can contribute.
Because I mean, this is how we evolve and make better art, is by communicating with each other and getting to meet new people. And
cultural exchanges, I mean, they've been going on forever, but we need them now more than ever, I think.